Welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. So, that noise you may hear is the chair I'm sitting in. Today we are going to talk about Dragon Ball Super Superhero, which is the latest Dragon Ball Z movie to be released. You may also hear a dog barking. I can't control that, unfortunately, because I'm very close to a window. So, Dragon Ball Super Superhero is the fourth movie of the. I don't want to know if it's. I want to say it's rebooted because I think they never stopped. Because I'm fairly certain that there was a movie with the movie with Turles was during what we would consider the period where they weren't getting widely released here. I think the last one that really got a wide American release before the reboot with Battle of the Gods and Resurrection F and then Broly was Wrath of the Dragon. Or at least that was the last one that got a lot of attention. But there were other ones too. There was Plan to Eradicate Super Saiyans. There was a bunch of other ones. Either way, this is the fourth one of this super timeline. Now the super timeline does take away a little bit because it does take away what we originally had for GT, which was a sequel series that aired on Cartoon Network. Fairly certain that was an American show, not international. We're getting off topic, though. We're here to talk about Superhero. So, one of my complaints with Broly, if you go back to, to 30-minute reviews this week, I did a review. This is the most Dragon Ball I've watched in a week since Kai was on the air on Nicktoons Network back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I watched Broly earlier this week, and one of my complaints was it's very Goku and Vegeta centric. And when the first time Broly came out, you get this sense that that would kind of need to happen because it's very much centered around the Saiyans, the origin of the Saiyans, the destruction of planet Vegeta. When it originally came out, it was set between Frieza and it was between Frieza and the androids, or in the middle of the android saga, before we got to Cell. So there weren't as many Saiyan characters alive, active, and doing things to the point where Goku and Vegeta are going and handling. I think Trunks was in that movie too. It's been a while since I watched the first Broly. But either way, in the new one, we have Trunks, we have Goten, we have Gohan, who is, at this point, way more powerful. And they kind of explain it away in this movie as to why Gohan's not there. But I don't think they do nearly enough within the confines of that movie, which is really what's the most important for that movie. Now, here, very little Goku and Vegeta. Very little Goku and Vegeta out of the gate. It's all about Gohan and Piccolo. There's a little Goku and Vegeta, don't get me wrong. Beyond that whole issue, there's also the issue of this Snyder-esque detour in the first one for a good amount of time that's spent making sure everyone knows the story of what happened to Planet Vegeta. And at that point, I feel like anyone going to see a Broly movie has a deeper level of understanding of the material than the average person who would be going to see this movie. Now, the problem is... Sorry, I went to go answer the door, but the issue is people who are going to see Broly would have known the origin story because everyone kind of knows Broly if they're going to see that movie. We don't need to see that all rethreaded in the same kind of very long Snyder-esque first act that takes about 40 minutes to get through. That we're spending on Planet Vegeta before Frieza destroys it. Don't think that's necessary for the plot. Most people will already know that story, especially considering how hard Bardock has been pushed over the recent history. That said, a little more backstory on the Red Ribbon Army and how much of this movie here, Dragon Ball Super Superhero, is dependent on, how do I put this, stuff that came from Dragon Ball the original, not Dragon Ball Z. And they actually make a comment about it in the beginning of the movie. It's like, some of you may be old enough to remember Goku facing off against the Red Ribbon Army. And it's like, well, yeah, and I get it. I understand that they're just trying to be like, oh, so here's the bare minimum to get through it. Like who the Red Ribbon Army is, what they're there for, their ties to the androids in Dragon Ball Z, their ties to Cell, all of that is kind of touched on, not quite as deeply as it is in as the Planet Vegeta stuff is in Broly, which feels like a misplay. And this movie is definitely designed for a wider audience because it feels more crowd pleasy in a broader. People who are familiar with Dragon Ball Z will enjoy this movie way. It's kind of like Jurassic World in that way. Like Jurassic World, I remember when it first came out, I said, it feels like a movie that works best if people are familiar with the fact that there is a movie called Jurassic Park, but not much else. Like, if you know the specifics of what happened in Jurassic Park, the movie doesn't quite fit in continuity, right? And this feels kind of the same way, where it's like if you watched Dragon Ball Z as a kid, and you watched up until, I would say through the Cell Saga, because I think that people kind of fell off at that point, and I don't think as many people have the fond memories of Majin Buu and all that, but like if you know all of that, you can kind of figure out what happens in this movie. So you get the introduction of the titular heroes, Gamma 1, Gamma 2, who are there, who are androids from the Red Ribbon Army. They're facing off against Piccolo, and then Piccolo finds out what's going on with the Red Ribbon Army, so he tries to recruit Goku and Vegeta, who are off fucking around on Beerus' planet, so they can't help. And then it's up to Piccolo and, Piccolo and Gohan and Goten and Trunks and Krillin and Android 18 to stop these two androids, and also a new version of Cell that looks pretty cool, but it's not the same way that one would remember Cell. If one's looking for Cell, you're not going to find the Cell you're looking for here. And look, the movie's not bad, it's just kind of the same thing we've already seen, down to visual cues and other homages. It's not like you're getting anything new out of this experience if you go to see this movie. That said, it's also the kind of thing that could potentially bring Dragon Ball back in a big way. And there's a lot of cool animation stuff that I found interesting, and it's unique and different from what we've seen in the past with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. I'm interested to see if they continue on with these things in the future, but I can't say definitively one way or the other that they are going to. But the 3D environments do look cool. The new forms are kind of interesting. They feel more like an attempt to get people to buy DLC for video games than they do actual, new forms, which I know. I know. I sound like the Star Wars fan who goes out there and says, like, oh, all the stuff they make now is a cash grab. And it wasn't that before, when really that's what it was before. They were logistical things or sales things, and that's why they came up with new forms. I feel like these feel very kind of shallow in so much as they're releasing them quickly in this environment. It's interesting, though. It's interesting to see them, how it'll play out. But I don't know. If you like Dragon Ball Z, you'll probably find something to like about this movie. If you aren't a fan, it's not likely to change your mind. I feel kind of the same way they do about the Shazam movie that's impending, where it's like it's more of the same. It's if you're not interested to begin with, you're not going to find a new love for it here. Though it would be, this could bring in a new generation of viewers. I'm just not sure how this kind of fits in with Super, because in the old way, the movies kind of weren't canon. And that was always the case, where it's whatever the movies did, were free to do whatever they wanted. They didn't have an impact on the main plot. So Lord Slug, Tree of Might, The Dead Zone, all of these that's a Stephen King book. Either way, whatever it is, all of these movies had no impact on the main plot itself of Dragon Ball Z. The issue is the Super movies are canon. The Super movies are, well, no, I don't think Battle of the Gods is canon, because they redid that, and I think they redid Resurrection F too. I don't think they did Broly in the show. But this one references Jiren, so it does very much set it in the timeline of the show, and there's still a manga still ongoing. So I don't know how that kind of meshes together. Maybe someone who's more oriented in the world of Dragon Ball can correct me on that. 30minutereviews at gmail.com. But I'm not 100% certain how it kind of meshes together, especially considering that there's that new thing, and then Vegeta does have a new form already to coincide with Ultra Instinct that Goku has, and it's kind of a weird situation. And that's the other reason why Goku couldn't be there, is that if Goku was there, it would take away from the risk, and it wouldn't end up with the new Gohan form, which according to a Google search is called Gohan Beast, which is, alright, whatever. I'm not going to argue with them. But on that note, we'll wrap up there for today. Tomorrow I will be speaking of Beast, I'll be seeing Beast, the new Idris Elba movie. Tomorrow morning we'll also have a review up of Harley Quinn, the latest episode that just came out, that summed up the mayoral race in Gotham. And this Sunday we will have a mid-year review episode of 30 Minute Reviews with guest stars. So until then, have a great rest of your week.